a narrow passage where geography, power, and global trade converge in extraordinary tension. Where the shores of Oman and Iran face one another across a corridor of water that carries consequences far beyond the region itself. Here, one of the world's most vital maritime routes channels an immense share of global energy, and massive tankers move through waters where precision, strategy, and stability remain inseparably linked. On either side of the strait, coastlines shaped by history and rivalry overlook a passage of immense economic weight. Naval presence, shipping lanes, and decades of geopolitical tension have made this waterway far more than a simple route between sea and sea. It is a place where commerce and conflict, proximity and vulnerability exist in constant balance. What passes through the Strait of Hormuz does not remain in the Gulf. It moves outward to refineries, industries, and cities across continents, reaching economies far removed from the Arabian Peninsula. A place of strategic importance and enduring uncertainty, of maritime power and fragile balance. This is the Strait of Hormuz. Let us explore one of the most consequential waterways in the modern world. Number 1. Hormuz Island. An island whose beaches are the color of dried blood lies beside the strait that carries a fifth of the world's oil trade. Not rust, not orange, but red, deeply and unmistakably red, shaped by the high concentration of iron oxide in the soil that stains the sand, the shoreline, and the water where they meet. Hormuz Island sits in Iranian waters at the mouth of the strait, only a few kilometers from the mainland port of Bandar Abbas. The iron oxide here, hematite, the same compound used in industrial pigments, ceramics, and cosmetics, runs so heavily through the earth that local people have long incorporated it into their food. A spice known as gilak, made from the island's red soil, has been used in local cooking for generations. Its color lingers. Visitors who swim near the red shore often find that the stain remains on their skin for days before it fades. Yet the island's geology extends far beyond red alone. The surrounding terrain shifts across a full spectrum of mineral color: ochre, white, violet, and gray, shaped by 90 million years of geological deposits and giving Hormuz its name as Rainbow Island. Up to 70 different minerals have been identified in its soil. For decades, iron oxide was exported in bulk, though restrictions have since been placed on extraction as the surface deposits have gradually declined. In summer, the island reaches 45 degrees Celsius, with humidity that makes the heat feel almost physical. In winter, the same ground that burns in July becomes one of the more temperate places in the Persian Gulf. Beyond it, the strait remains active in every season. And the island it overlooks has existed far longer than the oil trade that would one day make those waters famous. Number 2. Qeshm Island, gateway of the strait. At roughly 1,500 square kilometers, Qeshm is the largest island in the Persian Gulf. Stretching more than 130 kilometers from end to end, it lies only a few kilometers off the Iranian mainland near the eastern approach to the strait. It is larger than Bahrain. Yet outside the region, most people have never heard of it. Around 150,000 people live on Qeshm, and many of them are connected to fishing, maritime trade, and an ecotourism sector shaped more by the island's terrain than by its beaches. The island functions as a free trade zone, exempt from Iranian customs duties. That status has made it consistently accessible to domestic travelers, even during periods when the broader economy has tightened. Largely independent of the way the outside world has chosen to define or imagine the Persian Gulf. And beneath the surface, the geology begins to tell an entirely different story. Number 3. Chahkooh Canyon. In the interior of Qeshm, the ground opens into a canyon system that runs for several kilometers through the island's limestone bedrock. Chahkooh, a name that translates roughly as 4 wells, was not carved by a river. Instead, it was shaped over millions of years by wind and intermittent rainfall, slowly wearing through the rock and leaving behind walls that rise more than 30 meters. In some sections, a narrow, in places, to a gap that a person can span with both arms. The wind left visible records of its work across every surface, undulating grooves, smooth hollows, and curved overhangs that repeat across the canyon walls, with the regularity of a pattern pressed into clay. At the base of certain passages, circular depressions cut into the rock floor mark the locations of ancient cisterns, hand-carved catchments once used to collect rainwater in a landscape where fresh water has always been scarce. The depth of the canyon keeps the air inside noticeably cooler than the terrain above, a contrast that becomes even sharper in summer when the island's surface temperature rises beyond 40 degrees. The narrowest passages cannot be seen from the surrounding plain. Someone standing on the canyon floor remains invisible from outside. It was geology that created this place, without intention and without design, long before anyone arrived to find a use for it. Number 4. Stars Valley. Local tradition tells a striking story about Stars Valley. It is said that long ago a star fell from the sky and struck the island, throwing Earth into the air and leaving behind the strange pillars and towering formations that define the landscape today. Geology offers a different explanation. It speaks of millions of years of wind and rain erosion, slowly shaping the rock into its present form. Yet, when standing among the jagged spires, hollowed walls, and unusually sculpted arches, the older story can feel just as convincing. When the wind moves through the cracks in the stone, it creates eerie and almost ghostly sounds that have, for centuries, kept people away after dark. Some local people still believe that jinn or spirits remain here once the sun has gone down. The rock itself is soft enough to reveal how each storm continues to reshape the valley. Because of that, the landscape is never entirely fixed. A visitor returning after 10 years may find that it no longer looks quite the same. Stars Valley feels like a living sculpture gallery, where the earth is still at work, slowly carving new giants above the coast. Number 5. Namakdan Salt Cave. Deep in the southern part of the island lies Namakdan Salt Cave, and its scale is extraordinary. This is not a small opening in the ground, but one of the longest salt caves in the world, stretching for more than 6 kilometers. To enter it is to walk into a mountain and discover an underground world shaped almost entirely by salt. Its walls are layered in red, purple, and white, creating patterns so vivid that they seem almost painted across the interior of the earth. The deeper the cave extends, the more surreal it becomes. Long, white salt formations hang from the ceiling like icicles, while salt rivers run through the darkness with the appearance of frozen waterfalls. The air inside is remarkably pure. Some people come here for that reason alone, drawn by the belief that the salt-rich atmosphere is especially beneficial for the lungs. The experience feels like a complete sensory reset. While the world beyond remains focused on oil prices and shipping lanes, Namakdan exists in a different register, entirely a dark, shimmering labyrinth of stillness and peace. Over thousands of years, the salt forced its way upward through the crust, creating an underground kingdom that glitters in silence and remains untouched by the politics of the waters above. Number 6. Pirate caves and Leng ships. High on a sheer cliff overlooking the sea, a line of dark openings appears in the rock, a true maze suspended above the coast, used for protection for more than 2,500 years. Part of this cave system was formed by nature, while the rest was carved by human hands. In the era when pirates moved through the Strait of Hormuz, villagers climbed into these heights to take shelter. Inside, the space unfolds into a complex network of tunnels and small chambers. From one of the narrow openings, the view across the sea is wide and clear. For a community that had to remain alert to danger at all times, it was an ideal lookout point. But the people of Qeshm were not only seeking protection from the sea, they were also building the very vessels that allowed them to master it. At the Leng shipyard, enormous wooden boats, some more than 30 meters long, rise from the sand like stranded whales. These are lenges, and the method by which they are built is recognized by UNESCO as a remarkable cultural tradition. The craftsmen do not rely on blueprints. They do not work from computers. Everything is shaped from memory, passed down from father to son across more than 1,000 years. They use heavy teak imported from India and Burma, forming each curve with simple tools such as saws and hammers. The sound of wood striking wood is constant, a steady, rhythmic thump that has remained the heartbeat of the island for generations. These wooden giants are built with such endurance that they can sail as far as East Africa and remain seaworthy for a century. Even in an age of steel and missiles, a wooden vessel and a resolute sailor can still command the waters of Hormuz. Number 7. Silver Beach and Rainbow Valley. Right next to the Red Beach is the Silver Beach. This beach is called Silver Beach because the sand here isn't the usual yellow or white, but black and gray mixed with countless sparkling mineral particles. These sparkling particles are actually fragments of mica and silica minerals that have been crushed over millions of years. When sunlight shines on them, these mineral particles reflect light, creating an effect similar to millions of tiny diamonds or silver fragments scattered across the shoreline. Because the island is so incredibly rich in iron oxide, the waves that crash against that silver sand are stained a deep rust red. One of the most enjoyable experiences here is walking barefoot on the sand. These silver mineral particles are tiny and highly adhesive. After your walk, your feet and body will be covered in a layer of naturally shimmering glitter that is difficult to wash off immediately, making you look like you've just been sprinkled with glitter. Imagine stepping onto a planet where the ground looks like a giant spilled paint box. And get this, you can actually eat the dirt. Rainbow Valley, a place so trippy, it feels like you've been teleported straight to Mars. This isn't some human-made art project. It's a natural salt dome built over millions of years. You'll see dozens of shades, like deep red from iron oxide, bright yellow from sulfur, and patches of purple and white. The coolest fact, that red soil, known as Jelak, is totally edible. It's probably the only place on Earth where you can literally taste a mountain. During festivals, artists even use this colorful sand to paint massive, intricate carpets right on the ground. Because this is the geological capital of the world, the scenery shifts every hour as the sunlight hits the minerals. Most importantly, as tempting as it is, do not take any sand home in your pockets. We've got to keep this masterpiece exactly where it belongs, so it stays a one-of-a-kind wonder for everyone else. If Rainbow Valley is likened to a giant box of colors, then the Valley of Statues is considered a surreal sculptural exhibition of nature. As its name suggests, this valley is filled with strangely shaped rock formations that resemble statues. The amazing thing is that there is no human intervention. All are the result of weathering and erosion by wind and water over millions of years. As you walk among the rocks, depending on your perspective, and you will see some mythical creatures. Each step reveals a new shape, making you feel as if you are lost in a mythical world. After navigating through the statues, you will suddenly find yourself before a sheer cliff about 25 to 30 meters high. From here, you can gaze out at the panoramic view of the azure Persian Gulf. The contrast between the gray and brown rocks and the deep blue of the sea creates an incredibly breathtaking scene. On windy days, the wind whistles through the crevices and strangely shaped caves, creating howling or murmuring sounds. Locals often say the valley seems to be whispering or singing, adding to the mysterious and somewhat eerie atmosphere of the place. Number 8. Portuguese forts and salt caves. One of the most remarkable legacies of the Portuguese Empire during its control of major maritime trade routes, the Portuguese fort on Hormuz Island has stood along the island's northern edge for more than 5 centuries. The fort was built from local coral stone and reinforced with special mortars, creating thick and durable walls in deep reddish-brown tones. Its design reflects the military architecture of Europe at the time. Yet it is shaped with materials drawn from the Gulf itself, giving the structure a distinctive and powerful character. Then there is the Salt Goddess Cave. To enter it is to feel as though you have stepped inside a vast, shimmering, almost breathing diamond. Hidden within a giant salt dome formed over millions of years, it is one of the island's most extraordinary places. Its most striking quality is its complete silence. The dense salt walls absorb sound so effectively that echoes disappear almost entirely. As you move deeper inside, the outside world seems to fall away, leaving only the sound of your own breath and heartbeat. Unlike limestone caves, this one is formed entirely of salt. Inside are countless stalactites and stalagmites made of pure white salt crystals, some sharp as blades, others hanging like chandeliers from the ceiling. Local people call it the Salt Goddess Cave because they believe the salt carries purifying and healing energy. The air inside is exceptionally pure and rich in negative ions due to the high salt concentration, making it especially beneficial for those with respiratory conditions. It is often seen as a natural spa hidden within the rocky landscape. Number 9. Laft, Tala Wells, and Hara Forest. Leaving behind the mesmerizing salt caves of Hormuz Island, the journey continues to the ancient town of Laft on Qeshm Island. This is one of the oldest and most distinctive settlements in the Persian Gulf, a place where time seems to have remained still for centuries. Its most striking feature is the forest of tall spires rising above the rooftops. These are badgirs, or wind-catching towers. In the severe heat of the Gulf, the people of the past developed this system to capture the cool sea breeze and direct it into their homes, bringing relief to their living spaces. Laft has the highest concentration of these towers in Iran, giving the village a skyline unlike any other. On a hill behind the village stand the ruins of Namakdan Fortress. From there, the full beauty of Laft comes into view. Warm brown mud brick houses, tall wind towers, and beyond them, Lenje boats resting on the deep blue sea. Beside Namakdan Fortress lies an exceptionally clever water storage system known as the Tala Wells. The people of the past dug 366 wells, matching the number of days in a leap year. Each day, only one well would be opened for use, allowing the precious freshwater supply to be rotated carefully and preserved through the dry season. Today, around 100 of those wells remain. Between Qeshm Island and mainland Iran lies the Hara Forest, often described as a magical green jewel rising from the salt waters of the Persian Gulf. This is not merely a forest, but an ecological wonder recognized by UNESCO as a World Biosphere Reserve. Twice each day, the forest seems to perform a transformation. When the tide rises, seawater covers the trunks and the trees appear to float on the surface. When the tide retreats, the water reveals a tangled and unusual root system anchored deep in the salty mud. The forest can only be explored by boat, moving through its narrow channels. The dominant species here is Avicennia marina. What makes it remarkable is its ability to draw directly from seawater. Its bark works as a natural filter, holding back salt and allowing only fresh water to pass inward. Any excess salt is then released through the leaves. Because of this mechanism, the Hara forest remains green throughout the year, even when its roots are submerged in highly saline water. The scientific name of the tree comes from Avicenna ibn Sina, the great Persian philosopher and physician. Local people call it Hara and take pride in the connection between the name of a great scholar and such a remarkable natural landscape. Covering around 8,000 hectares, the Hara forest provides an important resting place for thousands of migratory birds flying south in winter. Flocks of flamingos, egrets, pelicans, and even rare falcons can be seen here. Below the surface, the waters also serve as a vast nursery for fish, shrimp, and sea turtles. The people of Qeshm have long used Hara leaves as nutritious feed for livestock, though harvesting is now strictly controlled to protect this fragile ecosystem. Number 10. Hengam Island. Near Qeshm and not far from Hormuz, Hengam Island reveals a quieter and more untouched side of the Persian Gulf. Smaller and less developed than the islands around it, Hengam is known for its clear waters, peaceful fishing villages, and a coastal atmosphere that feels simple, remote, and deeply serene. What makes the island especially memorable is the beauty of its shoreline. Here, pale beaches, rocky edges, and transparent water create a landscape that feels calm and open beneath the southern sun. In certain light, the sea appears almost luminous, shifting through soft shades of blue and silver. Hengam is also known for its marine life. Dolphins are often seen in the surrounding waters, adding a sense of movement and wonder to the stillness of the island. The sea here feels alive, yet never overwhelming. Life on Hengam moves at a slower rhythm. Traditional boats, modest homes, and quiet coastal scenes give the island a sense of authenticity that has not been shaped by large-scale development. It feels more like a place to observe and absorb than to rush through. Hengam Island is not defined by monuments or grand landmarks. Its beauty lies in simplicity, light, and atmosphere. It remains one of the most peaceful island escapes near Hormuz, where sea, silence, and local life exist in quiet harmony. Number 11. Musandam Peninsula. Musandam Peninsula is one of the most dramatic and unforgettable landscapes in Oman. Separated from the rest of the country by geography, it feels remote, rugged, and almost otherworldly. Here, steep mountains plunge directly into the sea, creating a coastline of narrow inlets, hidden coves, and towering cliffs that is often compared to a system of fjords. This is a place where land and water meet with extraordinary force and beauty. The mountains are harsh and imposing, yet the sea below moves with calm clarity, creating a striking balance between power and stillness. Viewed from the water, the cliffs rise in vast layers of rock, giving the peninsula a sense of scale that feels both cinematic and deeply serene. For centuries, Musandam has been shaped by maritime life, isolation, and the rhythms of the Gulf. Traditional dhow boats still move through its waters, carrying visitors across quiet channels framed by stone and sky. That journey is part of what makes the peninsula so memorable, as every turn reveals another secluded inlet or dramatic coastal wall. Musandam Peninsula is more than a scenic destination. It is one of the most powerful expressions of Oman's natural grandeur, where mountains, sea, and silence come together in rare harmony. Number 12. Bandar-e Kong. Bandar-e Kong is one of the most atmospheric historic ports on the Iranian coast of the Persian Gulf. Located in Hormozgan province near Bandar-Lenge, it is known for its maritime character, traditional architecture, and long connection to the sea. Its historic urban fabric, wind catchers, water systems, and coastal setting are also part of Iran's UNESCO tentative list, reflecting the town's cultural and architectural significance. What makes Bandar-e Kong especially memorable is its sense of continuity. Here, the relationship between port, town, and daily life still feels deeply intact. Mud brick houses, narrow lanes, and sea-oriented architecture reflect a place shaped by heat, trade, and generations of maritime living. The town carries the memory of older Gulf connections, where boats, merchants, and coastal communities linked Iran to distant shores across the Persian Gulf and the Indian Ocean. Bandar-e Kong is not defined by spectacle, but by atmosphere. It feels warm, weathered, and quietly dignified. In its shoreline, historic homes, and enduring bond with the sea, it reveals a more intimate and authentic face of the Gulf. Number 13. Hormozgan. Hormozgan is one of the most geographically distinctive and strategically significant regions in southern Iran. Stretching along the northern shores of the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, it is a province where islands, ports, mountains, and coastal deserts come together in remarkable contrast. It is here that much of the wider world of the Strait of Hormuz begins to take shape. What makes Hormozgan especially compelling is its diversity. This is the province of Hormuz Island, Qeshm, Hengam, Laft, and the busy port of Bandar-e. Yet beyond those better-known names, Hormozgan also reveals mangrove wetlands, salt caves, wind towers, fishing villages, and long shorelines shaped by trade, heat, and sea air. The landscape feels both harsh and vivid. Red mountains, mineral-rich islands, dry hills, and shimmering coastal waters create a region that often feels almost surreal in color and texture. At the same time, its ports and maritime routes give it a constant sense of movement and strategic weight. Hormozgan is not defined by a single landmark, but by an entire coastal world. It is a region of islands and thresholds, of geology and seafaring, of beauty and importance. In many ways, it is one of the clearest expressions of the Persian Gulf itself. Complex, exposed, and unforgettable. At the edge of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, this region reveals a world shaped by islands, ports, cliffs, salt, wind, and sea. From the surreal colors of Hormuz to the rugged landscapes of Qeshm and the quiet coastal rhythm of Bandar-e Kong, every place carries its own atmosphere, history, and sense of wonder. It is a region where geology feels almost unreal, where maritime life still shapes daily existence, and where beauty often appears in the most unexpected forms. What makes this part of the world so fascinating is not only its strategic importance, but also its texture, silence, and contrast. Here, trade routes and ancient villages, mangrove forests and mineral valleys, remote islands and working ports, all exist within the same narrow maritime world. It is a place of movement and stillness, of harsh light and hidden beauty, of history, survival, and extraordinary landscapes. This is the world of the Strait of Hormuz, complex, powerful, and unforgettable. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for more remarkable places from around the world.